Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving deep into something that sounds straightforward, but is actually incredibly difficult for so many companies.
Yeah.
Really, truly aligning IT strategy with core business objectives. You hear it all the time, right?
Hmm.
Technology should be a strategic asset. It should be an engine for growth. But, well, why does it so often feel disconnected? Like IT is just kind of over there spending money.
Yeah, it's a common frustration.
We've got a source today that really tries to tackle this head on, offering a practical roadmap. It's an article from Techshift, Aligning IT Strategy with Business Objectives, a practical guide by Jay Tillotson. And right up front, it hits you with a stat that just tells the story of how widespread this problem is. A staggering 74% of organizations admit their IT strategy process is ineffective.
74%. That's huge.
It's nearly 3 out of 4.
Yeah.
So our mission in this deep dive, pulling from this guide, is to understand exactly how you move IT from being seen as just a cost center to becoming that, strategic powerhouse.
And I think what's truly eye-opening is understanding the real cost behind that 74%. This isn't just about inefficiency, it directly hits the bottom line and the company's ability to compete. The source breaks down the pain points of misalignment really, really effectively. First up, there are the wasted resources. It's pretty obvious, I guess. When IT projects aren't directly tied to business goals, you just end up with tech stacks that don't support priorities, maybe redundant tools, projects that just stall or completely miss the mark. The article points out that 23% of CXOs feel their critical goals are unsupported by IT. Think about that. That's a direct line to budget overruns and, frankly, squandered investment.
A quarter of top execs feeling unsupported.
Wow. Yeah. And then think about lost agility. When IT operates in its own little world, separate from the rapid shifts happening in the market or even within business units, the whole company just slows down.
Mm.
The example of retailers is a good one in the article, those who couldn't quickly unify customer data across channels. Because their IT systems and strategy just weren't built for that kind of seamless experience, well, they lost ground fast to competitors who could personalize offers instantly.
Right, speed matters. Being slow means being left behind.
Exactly. And it also really erodes trust internally. If IT is just seen as the group that gets orders or, fixes computers, they're not part of the strategic conversation. And that creates this kind of us versus them dynamic that just stifles collaboration, prevents IT from proactively suggesting innovative solutions, and ultimately it just hinders the entire organization's ability to move forward effectively.
So it becomes this negative cycle.
Precisely. So this isn't some trivial problem. And the article's core argument is that solving it isn't about a quick fix or a single project. It requires a deliberate, ongoing, and iterative approach.
Okay, so the stakes are incredibly high. It's not just frustrating, it's actually expensive and limiting. The source then lays out a clear sort of 5-step approach to tackle this. Let's jump into the first one, which feels fundamental. Decoding business objectives, moving beyond the buzzwords. I see this challenge everywhere you hear business leaders talking about transforming the customer experience or optimizing operations, which, okay, are crucial goals, but how does IT translate that into actual technology priorities? What do you build?
That's exactly the starting point, isn't it? Those big aspirational goals are necessary, sure, but for IT to build a strategy, you need specifics. The article suggests engaging in strategic dialogue, often through dedicated workshops with the C-suite and department heads. The goal there is really to unpack those broad terms. Improve customer experience, for instance. Well, that needs to become something measurable. Something like reduce average support ticket resolution time by 30%, or maybe increase mobile app conversion rates by 50%. That's something IT can build a strategy around.
Okay, making it concrete, actionable.
Right. And once you have that specificity, you can leverage frameworks. The article talks about using a goals cascade, basically mapping those specific measurable business outcomes down to the required IT capabilities. Think of Microsoft's big pivot under Satya Nadella. Their whole mobile-first, cloud-first thing wasn't just a slogan, was it? Azure became the literal technological backbone enabling that entire business strategy. IT wasn't just supporting a product, it was enabling the direction of the company.
That's a powerful example.
And crucially, the source really stresses quantifying the impact. IT can't just say, hey, we implemented a new system. They need to partner up with finance and the business units to show the ROI. The Ecor Hospitality Group case study mentioned is compelling here. They unified, 45 brands on a data platform like Snowflake? But they didn't stop at the technical achievement. They showed tangible business results, a 20% reduction in campaign launch times, and a 15% rise in guest retention, linked directly to better data use. That's how IT proves its value strategically.
That connection back to measurable business results, it's absolutely non-negotiable if IT wants to be seen as strategic,
Might
right?
go with it.
And the article flags a critical pitfall here, too. Assuming alignment is just a checkbox you tick once, we did our workshop, we're aligned. But business priorities shift constantly. You have to revisit and recalibrate these objectives quarterly, minimum.
It has to be a living process.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so moving from decoding what the business needs to how IT and the business actually work together. Step 2 is building a collaborative culture, breaking down silos. The source highlights that silos are this massive barrier affecting, was it 54% of organizations?
Over half. Yeah.
It creates that feeling, right?
Yeah.
IT feels like an internal vendor. Business feels like IT just doesn't get them. How do you possibly bridge that gap?
Well, silos are organizational killers, no doubt. And the article gives some actionable ways to dismantle them. One really powerful approach is creating cross-functional teams. This means actually embedding IT professionals directly within business units. Think about Walmart's supply chain transformation. It's a fantastic example. They apparently placed data engineers alongside logistics managers right there on the warehouse floor. That direct daily interaction led to insights and real-time analytics that just couldn't have happened with IT sitting miles away in HQ.
Wow, literally side by side.
Yeah. Another solution is developing shared metrics. So instead of IT focusing only on technical KPIs like uptime, which are important, and the business only on revenue, you create shared goals. So if the business is focused on cost reduction, IT measures infrastructure savings, but they also partner with operations to track efficiency gains in processes enabled by technology. Both teams are pulling towards the same outcome, measured the same way. That changes the conversation.
So everyone's rowing in the same direction, looking at the same scoreboard.
Precisely. And fostering tech literacy isn't just for IT, it's for business leaders too. They need to understand the potential of emerging tech without needing to be engineers. Procter & Gamble's IT Business Partnership Program is a great case study here. Apparently, by educating business leaders on practical AML use cases, they cut IT business misalignment by 40%. It just builds mutual understanding.
Makes sense. Demystifying the tech helps everyone.
Definitely. And the PetSmart example really illustrates the power of that joint effort. They wanted to personalize experiences for their, 70 million loyalty members. They didn't just hand the problem over the wall to IT. They formed a joint IT marketing task force using Databricks to centralize customer data. That integrated team effort slashed the time needed for customer segmentation from weeks down to hours, and that directly fueled double-digit revenue growth. Collaboration wasn't just a nice-to-have, it was absolutely essential for speed and impact.
That really drives home that collaboration isn't just about being polite. It's an engine for speed and actual innovation. It's not IT providing data. It's IT and the business working with the data together. Okay, on to step 3. Prioritize ruthlessly the art of strategic trade-offs. This is where the rubber meets the road, right? Every department wants the latest shiny tech. Every project feels urgent, but, well, budgets and people are finite. How do you possibly decide what actually gets done?
Yeah, this is arguably one of the hardest steps because it forces really difficult conversations and sometimes just saying no. The article strongly advocates using something called a value versus feasibility matrix. It's basically a tool to plot potential initiatives based on their estimated business impact versus their technical complexity or cost. This helps you identify the quick wins, high impact, low effort, versus the strategic bets, which are high impact, but also high effort, and maybe those things that are just low impact, regardless of effort. You need to actively choose the right mix.
You can visualize the trade-offs.
Exactly. Like automating invoice processing might be a quick win, pretty straightforward, big efficiency gain, but migrating an entire legacy ERP system, that's a major strategic bet. You need both, but you need to know which is which. Leveraging FinOps is also critical here. It's really about bringing financial accountability to the often variable spend of cloud and other IT resources, making sure that spend directly aligns with business priorities. There's an example of a Fortune 500 manufacturer using tools like AWS Cost Explorer to automate workload scheduling tied directly to their production cycles. That alignment, that visibility, saved them something like $12 million per year. It's about making sure IT spend is visibly supporting value creation.
$12 million a year just from smarter scheduling.
Tied to the business rhythm, yeah. And a point often overlooked but crucial for prioritization. You absolutely have to sunset legacy systems. The article suggests allocating maybe 15–20% of the IT budget specifically to reducing technical debt. Think about Netflix's famous migration off their own data centers onto AWS. That freed up enormous engineering resources and budget. And that capacity wasn't just idly sitting there, it was reinvested into building their AI-driven recommendation engine, which is completely core to their subscriber growth. You have to start doing some things to free up capacity for the really strategic priorities.
Right, it's not just about funding new things. It's about strategically shedding the old stuff that's weighing you down, or just distracting resources. And the pitfall flagged here is letting perceived urgency constantly override those strategic priorities.
The tyranny of the urgent.
Exactly. Those quarterly reviews become the safeguard against getting hijacked by the loudest voice in the room or the latest fire grill that pops up.
Constant vigilance.
Okay, step 4. Measure, adapt, and communicate, closing the feedback loop. So if IT is doing all this great work, aligning with the business, breaking down silos, prioritizing strategically, but nobody knows about it, does the business truly recognize the value? The source points out only 30% of IT leaders effectively communicate their contributions. That feels like a huge missed opportunity.
It absolutely is, a massive one. IT has to get better at telling its story in a way the business understands and, frankly, cares about. The first solution mentioned is defining clear metrics that resonate outside of IT. So this means tracking leading indicators, sure, like system uptime, which IT is used to, but also tracking lagging indicators that show the actual business impact. Maybe that's revenue influenced by an e-commerce platform upgrade, or customer satisfaction scores tied to an improved service portal, things the CFO cares about.
Connecting the dots for them.
Exactly. And building a value dashboard is a fantastic way to visualize this. You can literally link IT initiatives directly to business results on a screen. For example, show how implementing new API integrations reduced order fulfillment times by 25%, and then correlate that directly with a rise in customer satisfaction scores or repeat business. It connects the technical work directly to the business outcome, makes it undeniable.
Makes it visible, tangible.
Right. And you have to actively celebrate the wins. When IT-led or IT-enabled projects deliver significant business value, make noise about it. Don't be shy. Capital One's development of an AI fraud detection system is a great example. It didn't just save them $150 million annually, which is incredible. They actually featured IT's role in achieving that saving in their public earnings calls. That elevates IT from a cost center to a value generator in the eyes of the entire company and even investors.
That's powerful. Taking credit where it's due strategically.
Definitely. And tools, things like ServiceNow or Jira Align can be enablers here. They help provide transparency into IT workflows and allow you to map technical tasks directly to larger business initiatives, making that connection visible to everyone involved.
Got it. So making sure the value is seen, understood, and celebrated is absolutely key to changing that perception. Okay, finally, step 5. Future-proof with emerging tech without the hype. How do you stay on the cutting edge, looking at AI, IoT, blockchain, all that stuff, without chasing every shiny object and potentially destabilizing your core operations?
Ugh, the shiny object syndrome. Yeah, this is where innovation meets discipline. The article provides strategies to explore new technologies responsibly, not recklessly. Running pilot labs or sandboxes is crucial. You test new capabilities like AML for a specific use case, maybe IoT sensors in a limited area, or blockchain for a niche application in a controlled environment before you even think about enterprise-wide adoption. The Coca-Cola Andina pilot in Chile using IoT to improve route efficiency by 18%, that's a great example of a focused experiment with a clear business outcome measured.
Small bets first. Learn quickly.
Exactly. Adopting a modular architecture like building systems with microservices and APIs is another really strategic move. It just creates flexibility for the future. Adobe's shift to cloud-native and modular services, it dramatically reduced the time to deploy new features from months down to days. That kind of architecture makes it so much easier to integrate future technologies as they emerge.
Building for change, essentially.
Precisely. And you don't have to build every single cutting-edge capability in-house. Partner strategically. Collaborate with specialists, innovative startups, or even academia. Look at BMW's work with IBM exploring quantum computing for optimizing complex supply chain logistics. That's a prime example they could explore, potentially reducing costs by 12%, using truly bleeding-edge tech, without needing deep internal quantum physics expertise from day one. It's about leveraging the entire ecosystem.
That partnership angle is really important, recognizing you don't have to, and probably shouldn't, try to go it alone on everything.
For sure.
And the pitfall here feels crucial. Chasing trends just because they're buzzworthy. Like implementing Gen AI without a specific, quantifiable business objective it's actually designed to achieve. The innovation has to serve the strategy, not the other way around.
Absolutely. Purpose-driven innovation.
Wow, okay. That article provides such a structured, really practical framework. From understanding the true business needs to building the right culture, making those tough choices on where to invest, proving the impact, and then strategically looking ahead at future tech. It really underscores that this isn't just some IT project with a start and end date. It's an ongoing transformation, isn't it?
That's absolutely the core message. Aligning IT with business strategy isn't a one-time task you complete. It's a continuous journey of dialogue, adaptation, and intentionality. By embedding IT into the strategic core of the business, you fundamentally change its role from just a support function to a true growth multiplier.
A fundamental shift in perception and reality.
Yeah. And when you really consider the cost of not doing this, the wasted money, the lost opportunities, the internal friction, the question the article implicitly poses isn't whether you can afford to invest in alignment. It's whether you can possibly afford not to.
That puts it starkly. It makes perfect sense. And the article leaves us with a final, very practical thought for you, the listener, to consider right now in your own context. Take one critical IT project happening in your organization today, just one. Audit it and ask yourself honestly, how does this project directly advance our top 3 business goals? If the answer isn't immediately clear, isn't obvious, well, that's your sign that it might be time to recalibrate and strengthen that alignment.
Good challenge.
Think about that question. Is your tech truly tied directly to what matters most to your business?